The stars dimmed one by one as it passed, a vast shadow moving between worlds, leaving only dust and silence where life once thrived. Scientists across the galaxy had many names for it: World Eater, Star Killer, Cosmic Horror, but most simply called it the Devourer. On the observation deck of Earth's Space Defense Station, Lieutenant June Kim watched the holographic display with narrow eyes. Red dots marked the fallen planets, 23 worlds consumed in the past year alone. The pattern of destruction moved steadily toward human territory. "How long do we have?" June asked, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest. General Tay looked up from her tablet. 3 months until it reaches the outer colonies. 6 until Earth. June nodded, his face revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. At 32, he had risen quickly through military ranks thanks to his tactical mind and calm under pressure. But this enemy followed no rules of war he understood. The Neptune outpost captured new images, General Tay said, tapping commands into the console. The hologram shifted, showing a creature that defied description. It stretched across thousands of kilometers of space, a semi-transparent body with countless tendrils that reached out like hungry fingers. Its center pulsed with strange light, colors that human eyes had never evolved to properly see. "It looks almost alive," June said. "It is alive, Lieutenant. That's what makes it so dangerous." Down in the research wing of the same station, Dr. Hyun Park hunched over her computer, dark circles under her eyes. For weeks, she had analyzed data from the Devourer's attacks, searching for patterns others had missed. "Dr. Park?" Her assistant placed a cup of coffee beside her. "You should rest." Hyun shook her head. "Look at this energy reading." She pointed to a wave pattern on her screen. "It spikes before each planet is consumed, but always at different frequencies." "What does that mean?" "I think—" Hyun paused, knowing how strange her theory would sound. "I think it's communicating." "With whom?" "I don't know. Maybe with the planets themselves." The assistant frowned. "Planets can't talk, Doctor." "No," Hyun agreed. "But what if it thinks they can?" That evening, June presented the military's plan to Earth's Defense Council: massive weapons platforms, planet-sized shields, evacuation procedures for billions of people. His voice remained professional, hiding his doubt that any of it would work. An older council member raised his hand. "These weapons failed to protect the Centauri worlds. What makes you think they'll save Earth?" "We've studied those failures," June answered. "Our designs are stronger." "And if they fail too?" June looked at the worried faces around the table. "Then we fight until the end." After the meeting, General Tay pulled June aside. "I have a new assignment for you. Have you heard of Dr. Hyun Park?" June nodded. "The xenobiologist. Her theories are unusual." "Yes, but right now, unusual might be what we need. I want you to lead a special team. Work with Dr. Park. Find a weakness in this thing." "With respect, General, I'm a tactical officer, not a scientist. You're both, Kim, top of your class in xenobiology before you joined the military." June stiffened. He had left that life behind for good reasons. That was long ago. "Well, it's time to remember. Report to Lab 7 tomorrow at 800. The next morning, June found Lab 7 buzzing with activity. Scientists rushed between workstations, arguing over data. In the center stood Hyun, directing it all like a conductor. "Lieutenant Kim," she said when she spotted him. "Welcome to the only team trying something other than bigger guns." June frowned. "Those bigger guns might save lives, Doctor." "Not if they don't work." Hyun led him to her main display. "Look at these attack patterns." The screen showed a winding path through the galaxy, marking each consumed planet with a red dot. "Most assume it's moving randomly," Hyun explained, "or following resources. But I've overlaid its path with ancient star maps." She tapped a command and new lines appeared, connecting the dots in a pattern that looked almost like writing. June leaned closer. "What am I looking at?" "A root." one that was important to a civilization that died out 10,000 years ago. The Devourer isn't wandering. It's following a specific path. To what end? That's what we need to find out. For 2 weeks, June worked alongside Hyun's team. His military discipline clashed with her creative approach, but gradually, he began to see value in her theories. The Devourer wasn't simply destroying worlds, it was consuming them in a specific way, breaking down certain elements more carefully than others. It's looking for something, June said one night as they reviewed new data. Hyun nodded. But what? Before they could find answers, alarms blared throughout the station. June rushed to the command center where chaos greeted him. The Devourer has changed course, General Tay announced, her face grim. It's moving faster, much faster. On the main screen, the projection of the Devourer's path shifted dramatically. Instead of months, they now had weeks. Where is it heading? June asked. Saturn outpost. 8,000 colonists. Evacuation ships launched immediately, but everyone knew they wouldn't be enough. The Devourer moved with sudden purpose, as if it had finally found what it was seeking. 3 days later, June stood with Hyun in stunned silence as they watched the live feed from Saturn. The Devourer's massive body engulfed the entire moon where the outpost stood. Its tendrils pierced the surface, pulling apart the very atoms of the world. Within hours, nothing remained except a cloud of particles. It was thorough, Hyun whispered. More so than with other planets. Why? June asked. I don't know. But look. She pointed to new readings. Its energy pattern changed during the consumption. Almost like what? Like disappointment. The next day, as refugee ships from other Saturn moons arrived at Earth, Hyun called June to her lab. Her eyes were wide with excitement and fear. I've got it, she said. I know what it's doing. She showed him ancient texts describing cosmic guardians, entities that shaped the universe itself. These beings had names, Hyun explained. Names that were more than just sounds. They contained their very essence, their purpose. You think the Devourer is one of these guardians? June asked, skeptical. I think it was. But something happened. Something terrible. She pointed to a passage describing a great cosmic war. I think it lost itself. Its name, its purpose. Now it consumes worlds looking for fragments of what it once was. June stared at the text, then at the latest images of the Devourer moving toward their system. If you're right, he said slowly, how do we stop it? Hyun's answer chilled him. We don't stop it. We help it remember its name. The medical frigate Mercy drifted in Earth orbit, its white hull marked with red crosses visible from the planet below. Inside, corridors bustled with doctors and nurses as they cared for survivors from the Saturn outpost attack. Nurse Suk Lee moved quietly from bed to bed in the refugee ward. Unlike her colleagues who hurried through treatments, Suk took time with each patient. She held hands, listened to stories, and offered comfort beyond medicine. You need to process patients faster, Dr. Min told her during shift change. We have hundreds more arriving today. Suk nodded respectfully but disagreed in her heart. They need more than just medical treatment, she said softly. They've lost everything. Dr. Min sighed. Just follow protocol, Nurse Lee. At 28, Suk had worked as a nurse for only 3 years. Her instructors had praised her empathy but warned it might burn her out. Yet caring deeply was the only way Suk knew how to work. That evening, as Suk finished her rounds, NDO emergency alert sounded. Medical teams rushed to the docking bay. What's happening? Suk asked a passing orderly. Search team found something near the Saturn debris. They're bringing it in now. Suk followed the crowd to the bay where armed guards surrounded a sealed container. Through a small window, she glimpsed something shimmering inside. Captain Do, head of security, addressed the gathered staff. This entity was discovered floating where the moon Titan used to be. It appears to have the same energy signature as the Devourer. Murmurs of fear spread through the crowd. Is it dangerous? Someone asked. Unknown, Captain Do replied. But it's contained. We need a medical team to monitor it while scientists study it. No one volunteered. After a long silence, Sook stepped forward. "I'll do it," she said. Captain Du looked doubtful. "This isn't like caring for human patients, Nurse Lee." "All living things need care," Sook answered. "Even ones we don't understand." They moved the container to a secure room in the quarantine section. When they finally opened it, Sook gasped. Inside floated a being unlike anything she had seen before. It was roughly human-sized but constantly shifting shape. Its body appeared transparent, with swirling patterns like galaxies moving within it. It had no clear face, yet Sook felt it, watching her. "Remarkable," said Dr. Jin, the xenobiologist assigned to the case. "It seems to be made of the same energy as the Devourer, but concentrated into a smaller form." "Is it a piece of the Devourer?" Sook asked. "Possibly. Or maybe a scout." For 3 days, Sook observed the entity while scientists ran tests from a safe distance. It showed no signs of hostility but remained mysterious. It consumed nothing, made no sounds, and responded to no stimuli. On the 4th day, while Sook was alone with it during night shift, she noticed it trembling. "Are you in pain?" she asked, knowing it couldn't answer but feeling compelled to speak to it anyway. The entity moved toward her, pressing against the transparent wall of its container. Something in its movement seemed desperate. Against all protocol, Sook placed her hand against the barrier where the entity touched it. A jolt of energy passed through her, and suddenly her mind filled with images. Stars being born, planets forming, ancient beings moving through space. Sook gasped and pulled her hand away. The entity retreated to the center of its container, its swirling patterns moving faster. "You were trying to show me something," Sook whispered. The next morning, Lieutenant Jun Kim arrived with armed guards and Dr. Hyun Park. "We've come to examine the entity," Jun announced. Sook stood protectively near the container. "It's not dangerous. It's been calm since arrival." "That doesn't mean it's safe," Jun replied. He turned to his guards. "Prepare to transport it to the main research facility." "Wait," Sook said. "I think it can communicate. It showed me images when I touched the container." Jun's eyebrows rose. "You made contact with it? That violated at least 6 safety protocols." "But it worked," Sook insisted. "It wants to show us something." Dr. Park stepped forward, her eyes bright with interest. "What kind of images?" "Space. Stars. It was like seeing the birth of the universe." Dr. Park pulled out a tablet and showed Sook the same ancient texts she had shown Jun earlier. "Did you see anything like these beings?" The images showed luminous entities moving between stars, shaping cosmic matter with tendrils of light. Sook nodded slowly. "Yes, very similar." "This confirms my theory," Dr. Park said to Jun. "The Devourer is one of these cosmic guardians, and this smaller entity might be a fragment of it." Jun frowned. "Even if that's true, it doesn't change the fact that the Devourer is heading toward Earth. We have less than 3 weeks. "But it might change how we respond," Dr. Park argued. "If the Devourer is looking for its lost pieces, perhaps this entity is key to communicating with it." As they debated, the entity began to glow brighter, its movements becoming agitated. "It's responding to your tension," Sook said. She placed her hand on the container again, and the entity calmed. Jun stared at this interaction with a mixture of suspicion and wonder. "How are you doing that?" "I'm not sure," Sook admitted. "But I think it trusts me." Dr. Park pulled out star charts showing the Devourer's path. "Look at this pattern. It's not random destruction. Each planet it consumed had similar mineral compositions, as if it's searching for something specific. Or someone," Sook whispered, looking at the entity. Later that evening, after Jun and Dr. Park left to report their findings, Sook sat alone with the entity. She had brought star charts and images of the Devourer. "Is this what you're part of?" she asked, showing images of the massive cosmic being destroying worlds. The entity pressed against the container wall again. This time, Sook was prepared for the mental connection. She placed her hand on the barrier and opened her mind. Images flooded in. A vast consciousness split apart in some ancient cosmic event. Pain and confusion spanning millennia. A desperate search across galaxies for lost fragments of itself. When the connection broke, Suk stumbled back, tears streaming down her face. "You're lost," she whispered to the entity. "And so is the larger part of you." The entity pulsed gently, as if in confirmation. The next morning, Suk found June and Dr. Park in heated discussion with military officials. "The defensive platforms won't be ready in time," General Tay was saying. "We need to begin planet-wide evacuation." "Where would billions of people go?" June asked. "Anywhere but here." Suk stepped forward. "I need to tell you what I learned." They fell silent, turning to her with skeptical expressions. "The entity communicated with me again," she said. "The Devourer isn't evil. It's wounded, broken into pieces long ago. It's consuming planets looking for parts of itself." "That doesn't make it less dangerous," General Tay pointed out. "No," Suk agreed, "but it might give us a way to stop it." She looked at Dr. Park. "You said these cosmic beings had names that contained their essence. I think the Devourer has forgotten its name. That's why it's lost." Dr. Park's eyes widened. "And if we could somehow help it remember—" "Exactly," Suk said. "I think this smaller entity is a key piece of its consciousness. The part that remembers what it once was." June looked between them, his tactical mind working through possibilities. "So you're suggesting instead of fighting the Devourer, we try to communicate with it?" "Yes," Suk said firmly. "And how exactly do we do that?" "General," Tay asked. Suk took a deep breath. "I need to take this entity to the Devourer. I need to help them reconnect." Silence fell over the room as they all realized what she was proposing. A suicide mission. "Absolutely not," June said, his voice suddenly sharp with emotion that surprised even him. But in Suk's eyes there was only resolve. She had connected with the entity's pain and loneliness. She understood what it meant to be incomplete, searching desperately for wholeness. "I have to try," she said quietly. "Before more worlds." 3 days after Suk proposed her plan, Earth hummed with the sound of evacuation. Ships launched every hour, carrying those lucky enough to secure passage to distant colonies. The rest prepared for what might be their final weeks. In a secured laboratory aboard the space station, Suk sat cross-legged on the floor near the entity's container. Dr. Hyun Park worked at a computer nearby, studying ancient texts and comparing them to the entity's energy patterns. "Try again," Dr. Park encouraged. "See if you can get more specific images." Suk nodded and placed her hand against the container. The connection had grown stronger with practice. Now, instead of random flashes, she could direct her questions through thought. "Show me your name," Suk whispered. The entity pulsed, its galaxy-like swirls spinning faster. In Suk's mind appeared symbols she couldn't understand. Not written letters, but patterns of light and vibration. "I see something like waves," Suk said, eyes closed in concentration. "Overlapping patterns, like music made visible." Dr. Park recorded everything. "That matches these ancient descriptions. They didn't use words as we know them. Their language was based on energy frequencies." Lieutenant June entered the lab, his face grim. "The Devourer just reached Mars orbit. We have 4 days, maybe less." "How bad?" Dr. Park asked. "Total consumption. Nothing left." June hesitated. "But there's something odd. It's breaking down the planet in a different pattern than previous attacks. More carefully. It knows we have part of it," Suk said. The entity in the container pulsed in agreement. June looked skeptical but no longer dismissive. In the past days he had witnessed enough to question his previous certainties. "General Tay approved your mission, against my recommendation." Suk's eyes widened. "When?" "Tomorrow." We'll provide a small ship with enough fuel to reach the Devourer before it arrives at Earth. After that, he didn't finish the sentence. That night, Sook couldn't sleep. She returned to the lab and found June there studying the entity alone. You should rest, he said without looking up. So should you. June finally turned to her. Why are you doing this? You know it's probably suicide. Sook considered the question carefully. Because I understand what it feels like to be lost. She sat beside him. When I was a child, I got separated from my parents in a crowd. The panic, the confusion, it was overwhelming. This being feels that, but across galaxies and for thousands of years. That's a big leap, from a lost child to a planet-eating monster. Is it? Pain is pain. Loneliness is loneliness. Scale doesn't change the feeling. June studied her face. You really believe you can communicate with it? I already am, Sook said, glancing at the entity. Just not enough yet. Not where it matters. In the morning, Dr. Park arrived with new findings. She spread star charts across the table, pointing to the Devourer's path through the galaxy. Look at these patterns, she said excitedly. When overlaid with the frequencies Sook described, they form a kind of resonance pattern. Meaning what? June asked. Meaning the Devourer isn't just destroying planets randomly. It's trying to create a frequency, a vibration that might trigger something. It's memory, Sook whispered. Exactly, Dr. Park agreed. But it's doing it wrong, like someone shouting random syllables hoping to form a word they've forgotten. Sook approached the entity's container. Can you show me how to speak properly to the Devourer? The connection formed immediately, stronger than before. In her mind, Sook saw patterns of light forming and reforming, creating complex wave structures. It's trying to teach me, she said. But it's too complex for human speech. Dr. Park tapped her chin thoughtfully. Perhaps not for human speech, but what about human technology? She turned to June. Could we create a device that produces these specific frequencies? June considered it. Possibly. But delivering it would still require someone to pilot the ship. And they'd need to adjust the frequencies based on the Devourer's responses. I'll do it, Sook said firmly. There must be another way, June argued. There isn't. I'm the only one who can communicate with the entity. Sook looked at him with determination. And the entity is the only one who knows what the Devourer needs. To hear. For the next 24 hours they worked without rest. Engineers built a device capable of producing complex frequency patterns. Dr. Park programmed it with everything they had learned from the ancient texts. Sook spent hours in mental connection with the entity, learning to interpret its responses. As they prepared the small ship that would carry Sook and the entity to the Devourer, June pulled her aside. I'm coming with you, he said. Sook shook her head. You can't. The ship is barely big enough for one person and the entity's container. Then I'll fly alongside in a military craft. And do what? If this fails, no weapon will save Earth. June's usually stern face showed real emotion. I can't just send you to die alone. I won't be alone, Sook said, glancing at the entity. And I won't die if this works. Neither of them believed the second part. As launch time approached, Dr. Park gave Sook final instructions on operating the frequency device. Remember, these patterns must be precise. Even small errors could make the Devourer react unpredictably. Sook nodded, memorizing the controls. But the key is still missing, isn't it? We know how to speak its language, but not what to say. Its name, Dr. Park agreed. We know it's looking for its name, but we don't know what that is. The entity pulsed brightly from its container, now secured in Sook's small ship. I think it knows, Sook said. It just can't express it in a way we understand. Then you'll have to find another way to understand, Dr. Park said, embracing Sook. Safe journey. As Sook prepared for launch, June stood awkwardly at the ship's hatch. Lieutenant, Sook acknowledged with a small smile. Nurse Lee? He hesitated, then thrust out his hand. In it was a small communicator. Keep this channel open, I need to hear what happens. Sook took it, understanding what he couldn't say. I will. The launch was quiet, without ceremony. As Earth shrank behind her, Suk felt strangely calm. The entity's container glowed softly beside her, its patterns moving in what seemed like anticipation. We're going home, she told it. Or at least you are. The journey to Mars' orbit took just under 2 days. As they approached, Suk saw the Devourer for the first time with her own eyes. No image had captured its true scale, or the strange beauty of its shifting form. Planet-sized tendrils moved through the remains of Mars, sifting through particles with surprising delicacy. It's looking for you, Suk said to the entity. She activated the communicator. Lieutenant Kim, do you read me? I'm here, came Jun's tense reply. We can see you on approach. The Devourer hasn't reacted to your presence yet. It will, Suk said confidently. She activated the frequency device, setting it to the patterns Dr. Park had programmed. I'm starting communication attempts. The ship filled with strange sounds, not quite music, not quite language, but somewhere between. The entity's container pulsed in rhythm with the sounds. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, slowly, one massive tendril of the Devourer turned toward Suk's tiny ship. It noticed us, she whispered into the communicator. Get out of there, Jun urged. It's changing course. But Suk didn't flee. She watched as the Devourer's enormous form shifted, countless tendrils now oriented toward her ship. The entity beside her pulsed frantically, its pattern spinning faster than she had ever seen. It recognizes you, Suk told it. She placed her hand on the container one last time. Show me what to do. The connection that formed was overwhelming. Suk gasped as her mind filled not with images but with a complete understanding that transcended language. In that moment, she knew what the Devourer was, what it had lost, and what it needed to hear. As the Devourer's massive form engulfed her, small ship pulling it toward its center, Suk's voice was steady over the communicator. I know its name, she told Jun. I know what it really is. On Earth, billions watched their screens as the tiny ship disappeared into the Devourer. Lieutenant Jun stood rigid in the command center, gripping the edge of a console so tightly his knuckles turned white. Signal lost, a technician announced, unnecessarily. Keep the channel open, Jun ordered, his voice tight. Dr. Park placed a hand on his shoulder. She knew what she was doing, Lieutenant. Yes, Jun agreed, but that doesn't make it easier to watch. Inside the Devourer, Suk experienced something no human ever had. Her ship moved through layers of energy, each one more intense than the last. Outside her viewport, colors shifted in patterns that human eyes weren't designed to process. The entity beside her glowed brightly, its container barely containing its excitement. We're close, Suk whispered, though she wasn't sure how she knew this. The frequency device continued emitting the patterns Dr. Park had programmed, but Suk could tell it wasn't enough. Something was missing from the signal. The name she had glimpsed in her mind was more than just a sound or pattern. It was a complete understanding of what the Devourer truly was. As her ship drifted deeper into the cosmic being, Suk made her decision. She reached for the container's seal. I need to connect with you completely, she told the entity. No barriers. Warning lights flashed on her console as she unlocked the container. Every safety protocol screamed against what she was doing. But Suk knew instinctively it was the only way. The container opened with a soft hiss. The entity floated free, hovering before her. For a moment it maintained its form. Then slowly, it moved toward her, its galaxy-like patterns swirling with increasing speed. Suk closed her eyes and opened her arms. I'm not afraid, she said. Show me. The entity touched her skin, and then, instead of stopping, it began to merge with her. Suk gasped as energy flowed into her body like liquid light. Pain mixed with wonder as her consciousness expanded beyond human limits. In the command center on Earth, Jun jumped when the communicator suddenly crackled to life. Suk? Suk, can you hear me? He called. At first, only strange sounds came through, harmonics that made the speakers vibrate oddly. Then, Sook's voice emerged, strained and different. June, I can see it all now. Everything. What's happening? Dr. Park asked, leaning toward the speaker. The entity has joined with me. We are becoming something new. Her words came, between long pauses. The Devourer is taking us to its center. Can you communicate with it? Dr. Park asked urgently. Yes, but not with the device. It needs to feel its name, not hear it. The connection grew weaker, breaking into static. June grabbed the communicator. Sook, whatever you're planning, be careful. We need you to come back. Her laugh sounded strange, echoing oddly. That's not possible now, but it's okay. It's not okay, June said fiercely. Nothing about this is okay. Lieutenant, Dr. Park warned, we need to trust her. Inside the Devourer, Sook's ship approached what seemed to be a central core, a swirling mass of intense light where all the cosmic being's energy patterns converged. The entity within her guided her understanding, showing her what she needed to do. The Devourer wasn't just lost, it was broken. Some ancient cosmic event had shattered its consciousness, leaving the largest piece to wander the universe in pain and confusion, consuming worlds in a desperate attempt to find what it had lost. It doesn't remember what it is, Sook whispered, though no one could hear her now. The communicator had failed completely. Her small ship stopped moving, suspended in the heart of the Devourer. Around her, vast energies churned, powerful enough to tear apart planets. Yet they held her gently, as if the Devourer sensed something important about her presence. Sook knew what she had to do. The name she had glimpsed couldn't be spoken or transmitted by any human device. It had to be projected directly from a consciousness that understood it fully. She closed her eyes and allowed the entity inside her to take control. Together they reached out to the wounded cosmic beings surrounding them. On Earth, alarms blared as sensors detected massive energy spikes from the Devourer. What's happening? General Tay demanded. A scientist pointed to readings on a screen. The Devourer's energy pattern is changing, fluctuating rapidly. Dr. Park studied the patterns with wide eyes. It's responding to something. The frequencies are shifting to match what we saw in the ancient texts. Is that good or bad? June asked. I don't know, Dr. Park admitted. Inside the Devourer, Sook floated outside her ship now, her body transformed by the entity within her. She glowed with the same galaxy-like patterns, her human form barely visible within the swirling energy. She reached out, not with hands but with consciousness, touching the wounded being surrounding her. She felt its pain, its confusion, its desperate loneliness spanning millennia. I know you, she projected, not in words but in understanding. I know what you lost. I know your true name. The Devourer's energies swirled around her, curious and hopeful. Sook sensed it had encountered many beings over its long existence, but none who could truly see it for what it was. Sook opened her consciousness fully, allowing the name she had learned to flow from her. It wasn't a sound but a complete pattern, a perfect understanding of what the Devourer had been before its wounding. The entity within her amplified this understanding, strengthening the connection. On Earth, observers gasped as the Devourer's form began to change. The chaotic tendrils that had torn apart worlds started moving with new purpose, restructuring themselves. It's transforming, Dr. Park whispered in awe. The massive being's color shifted from the angry reds and blacks that had marked its destructive path to softer blues and purples. Its movements became graceful rather than violent. What about Sook? June asked, his voice tight. Can we detect her ship? A technician shook her head. No signals from inside the Devourer. But, she paused, adjusting her instruments. We're picking up a new energy signature, something forming at its center. Inside the Devourer, Sook experienced what it meant to become part of something vast beyond human comprehension. Her consciousness merged with the smaller entity, now joined with the Devourer itself. Together they completed a circle broken long ago. As the name, the true understanding flowed from Sook to the Devourer. Memories awakened. Not just the Devourer's memories, but ancient knowledge of what it had been created to do. Not to destroy, but to transform. Not to consume, but to renew. It had been a cosmic gardener, preparing worlds for new life, clearing away the old to make room for the new. In its wounded state, it had performed its function clumsily, destructively, without purpose or care. Now it remembered. And as it remembered, it changed. Sook felt her human consciousness stretching, thinning as it joined with something far larger. For a moment, she feared losing herself completely. Then she felt something unexpected, the Devourer making space for her, preserving her human perspective even as it incorporated her into its vastness. "We need you." She understood it telling her. "We have forgotten what it means to care for small things." Her last individual thought was of June and Dr. Park, of Earth waiting in fear. She sent out one final message, not knowing if it would reach them. "Don't be afraid. It remembers now, and so do I." On Earth, the command center erupted in confused shouts as the Devourer's tendrils, which had begun reaching toward the planet, suddenly pulled back. The massive entity seemed to pause, hovering near moon orbit. Then, to everyone's amazement, it began to move. Not toward Earth, but around it, in a gentle orbit. Its tendrils reached out, but instead of tearing, they began to gather the fragments of Mars and the destroyed moon of Saturn. "It's rebuilding," Dr. Park said in disbelief. June stared at the screens, his expression unreadable. "But what about Sook?" Before anyone could answer, every communication device in the command center activated simultaneously. A voice came through, recognizable as Sook's, but somehow larger, resonating with harmonics that made the air vibrate. "We remember now," the voice said. "We will repair what was broken." "Sook?" June asked desperately. "Is that you?" There was a pause, then. "Part of me is still Sook. Part of me is now much more. Don't worry, June. This was always my purpose." As they watched in awe, the Devourer, now transformed, continued its work, gathering cosmic materials with the precision of an artist rather than the violence of a destroyer. And at its center, visible only on certain frequencies, glowed a human-shaped pattern of light, guiding its movements with compassion Earth had taught her. 3 months passed since the Devourer's transformation. Earth's evacuation had stopped, people returning to their homes with a mixture of relief and wonder. In orbit around Earth, the being they now called the Guardian continued its work. Where Mars had been reduced to fragments, something new was forming. The Guardian gathered cosmic material, shaping it with precise movements of its vast tendrils. Scientists watched in amazement as atmosphere began to form around the reconstructed planet. In the Space Defense Station, Lieutenant June Kim stood before the observation window, watching the Guardian work. His military uniform was gone, replaced by the blue jacket of the newly formed Cosmic Communication Division. "Still watching her?" Dr. Park asked, joining him at the window. June nodded without turning. "Every day." Dr. Park handed him a tablet. "The latest readings from Mars. Oxygen levels are rising faster than any natural process could explain." "She's terraforming it," June said, "creating a new home for humanity." "For all life," Dr. Park corrected. "The samples we collected show the soil now contains microorganisms similar to Earth's earliest life forms." June finally turned from the window. Dark circles under his eyes spoke of sleepless nights. "Any new communications?" "Nothing clear. Just harmonics on frequencies we can barely detect." Dr. Park hesitated. "June, it's been 3 months. You need to accept that Sook as we knew her is gone." "I know she's different now," June said. "But she's still there. I can feel it." Dr. Park didn't argue. Many had reported strange dreams since the Guardian's arrival, dreams of stars being born and planets forming. Some claimed to hear Sook's voice in these dreams, explaining what the Guardian was doing and why. General Tay entered the observation deck, accompanied by representatives from world governments. They nodded respectfully to June and Dr. Park, now famous as the people who had saved Earth. "The World Council wants an update," General Tay said. "They're concerned about the Guardian's activities near Saturn." Dr. Park brought up new images on the main screen. Where Saturn's moon had been destroyed, the Guardian was creating something new. Not a moon, but a ring of smaller bodies, each glowing with strange energy. "It's building outposts," Dr. Park explained. "From what we can tell, they'll serve as a kind of early warning system against other cosmic threats." "There are others like the Devourer?" one representative asked nervously. "The universe is vast," Dr. Park said, "and very old. The Guardian is preparing defenses for threats even it fears." As the meeting continued, June slipped away to his private lab. There he had built a device based on the frequency technology Sook had used. For weeks he had tried to establish communication with the Guardian, with little success. Today, he had a new approach. Instead of broad frequencies, he focused on patterns that matched Sook's brainwaves, recorded during her early interactions with the smaller entity. "Sook," he said into the transmitter, "if you can hear me, if any part of you remembers who you were, please answer." At first only static replied. Then, just as he was about to give up, the speakers emitted a soft, harmonic tone. The pattern on his screen shifted, forming waves that matched human speech. "June," came a voice. Sook's voice, but layered with other tones. "I was wondering when you would find the right frequency." June nearly fell from his chair. "Sook? Is it really you?" "Part of me. The human part. It's getting harder to separate myself from the whole, but I wanted to speak with you one more time." "Are you happy?" June asked, the question sounding inadequate even as he spoke it. A sound like gentle laughter came through the speakers. "Happy doesn't begin to describe it. I am part of something ancient and beautiful. I see the universe as it truly is. We've been watching what you're doing, the rebuilding." "Yes. We are repairing the damage done during the forgetting. Mars will soon support life again. The Saturn outposts will protect your system from other dangers." "Other dangers?" "The universe is waking up, June. Old forces stir, some benevolent, some not. The Guardian remembered its purpose because of human compassion. Others may need different reminders." June leaned closer to the transmitter. "What happens now? Will you stay in our system?" "For a time. There is much to repair here. But eventually we must journey outward. Other wounded Guardians need to remember their names. And you'll help them?" "Yes. What Sook did for the Guardian can now do for others." June swallowed hard. "Will I ever see you again? The human you, I mean." There was a long pause. Then the air in the lab shimmered and a figure formed. Sook, looking as she had before but slightly transparent, her body containing swirling patterns of stars and galaxies. "This is the closest I can come to what I was," she said, her voice coming from both the speaker and the apparition. "My consciousness remains mostly with the Guardian, but I can project this small piece when needed." June reached toward her, his hand passing through the image. "I miss you. I know. But I am where I need to be." Her image smiled. "We need your help, June. Humanity's help." "How?" "The Guardian has ancient knowledge, but lacks understanding of compassion, of emotion. These human qualities are what helped it remember its purpose. As we find other cosmic entities, we will need humans to help them remember too." "You want ambassadors," June realized. "Yes, people willing to venture into the unknown, to connect with beings beyond human comprehension. Dr. Park has already begun studying the language of cosmic entities. With your military background and her scientific knowledge, you could lead this effort." June considered this. 6 months ago, he had been a tactical officer planning defenses against an alien threat. Now he was being offered the chance to become an ambassador to cosmic beings. "I'll do it," he said without hesitation. Sook's image smiled. I knew you would. Over the next year, Earth changed profoundly. The Guardian's presence accelerated human technology, particularly in space travel and communication. Dr. Park's research team decoded more of the cosmic language, allowing limited communication with the Guardian without Sook's direct intervention. Mars transformed faster than anyone thought possible. Oceans formed. Simple plants took root. The Guardian created an atmosphere that would sustain human life, though it would be decades before full colonization could begin. June led the first Cosmic Ambassador program, training people to communicate with entities humans once would have feared. They learned from Sook that understanding and compassion could bridge gaps between forms of life that seemed completely alien to each other. Sometimes on quiet nights when June stood alone on the observation deck, Sook's image would appear beside him. Together, they would watch the Guardian work, rebuilding what had once been destroyed. Does it ever regret its time as the Devourer? June asked her once. Regret is a human emotion, Sook replied. The Guardian experiences something deeper. Responsibility to heal what was harmed during the forgetting. And you? Do you regret your choice? Sook's starry form turned to him. Never. I found my purpose, just as you found yours. As the Guardian completed its work in the solar system, preparations began for its departure. Many feared its leaving, having grown accustomed to its protective presence. But Sook assured them that Earth would not be abandoned. On the day of its departure, the Guardian left behind smaller entities, star-like beings that would watch over the planets it had healed. And as it moved away from Earth for the last time, it briefly took a new shape visible to everyone watching. The form of a human woman with arms outstretched, a final gift from Sook to her homeworld. June watched from the bridge of humanity's first long-range ambassadorship, ready to follow the Guardian to distant stars. Dr. Park stood beside him, her scientific equipment ready to document new cosmic wonders. Do you think we'll find more like the Guardian? Dr. Park asked. I hope so, June replied. Sook once told me that the universe is waking up. I want to be there when it does. As their ship prepared to depart, June took one last look at Earth. From a wounded planet facing destruction, it had become the birthplace of a new understanding, that even the most terrifying forces in the universe could be reached through compassion. And it had all begun with a human nurse who understood that knowing someone's true name was the first step toward healing.